going to talk about the doctrine of atonement or the doctrine of forgiveness. I'm from India and my home church is in India, and I would talk about the issue that we have been facing all these years. Um, in church, being the youth in charge, I've always seen a system or a cycle going on. Kids used to come into church, they accept Jesus, they grow spiritually, they are nurtured spiritually. In everything they do, they stand on God's side. In school, they are the witness to people, and this is how they grow. They grow godly children. And once at certain stage, when they become teenagers or youth, there is a slight deviation. And this happens in every youth's life, every teenager's life. It is not something new, or it's not something unique that happens in one particular person. Because when people grow up to a certain stage, they want to be like everybody else. They want to have fun, they want to enjoy life, and they don't want to do all godly things. They want to do things that their friends do, and they want to have fun even though it's against Bible or against God's will. So this is a stage where the youth starts to slide back, and I wouldn't say that all of them do it, but everybody get a desire to do it. And there are people who backslide in their youth, in their teen, because I've seen with my own eyes, and it has been so surprising for me, because there have been kids, not even kids, even in their teenagers, they used to come, they lead worship in youth services, they do even give sermon, they preach, because we give opportunity for everybody to participate in ministry. So all this goes on, and all of a sudden a person disappears. He or she leaves church. They do not want to involve in church activity, they don't want to come to church regularly. They are tired, they want to have fun, so they leave church and they prefer doing all activities outside church rather than inside. They do everything that they know it doesn't please God, in their ignorance of course, and in their desire to have fun. And all these goes on for a while. They grow up to a certain stage, they move away from God, they disconnect with church, with people in the church, and sometimes they get married. And at some point in their life, after all this time when they've been away from church, away from God, and having done everything they pleased, at one time people realize that they moved so far away from God, because God never moves away, we move away from God, so does these people. And when they're so far away from God, they realize, and at some point they feel guilty, and they want to get back. They want to rebuild their relationship with God. They want to get back what they had, because no matter how much enjoyment you have in the world, at some point you get tired, because the permanent joy and permanent satisfaction of life lies only in God and in His Word. And just because the world is so tempting and the devil tries all he can to pull God's people away from God, people fall back, they backslide. And at this point, when they think they want to get back, that's when the problem begins. There is a hurdle. One, it's church. Church means the believers, the other people who knew this person from the beginning. They know that this person has been spiritually well formed and did everything. And once they move away from God, and when they get back in, they're not welcoming. They'll be like, I know you. You were so much into cards and spiritual stuff, and then you just left like that. You backslide in your life, and when you try to get back, they try to dignify or inferior this person, because they think they are holier than the person, because they backslided in their life and they're coming back. Two, it's their own guilty conscience. They think they did something that they can never rectify. True, You cannot go back to time and fix everything that happened, because it doesn't work that way. So what is the ultimate option? Yes, forgiveness. And God's forgiveness is the only option left. And people don't think about it at all. People think forgiveness is something you receive during salvation. Yes, the ultimate part of salvation is forgiveness. You believe that Jesus came to this world, died on the cross, shed his blood just to forgive your sin. Yes, that is true. That's the reason we ask a person to do sinner's prayer for the first time when they accept Jesus, because that's the ultimate base of Christianity. But is this salvation and forgiveness just once in our life? Is it something that Bible speaks about given to you only once, because you are allowed to do sin only till you get saved? After you're saved, you're supposed to live a perfect holy life. No, Bible does not say that. And no way a human can say that or live like that, because no human is perfect and no human can be that holy, because God is the only holy being. And human cannot be completely holy, because in Psalms David says, one, because my mom conceived me with sin. Two, because I choose to do sin. That is how every human is. And there's sin in every blood, and only God's blood can forgive us. And nobody can be holy, and this forgiveness is not a one-time deal for life. Salvation is not a one-time deal. That doesn't mean that you can live your life however you want every day and then go back and ask God for forgiveness. That is not how it works. We strive to be holy, we struggle to be holy, we struggle to be in a relationship with God. Anything we try to do spiritually is a hard thing, because man is given free will and devil is trying to attack us and move us away from God. It's an ultimate goal of devil, and this struggle is going on all the time, 24/7. So we struggle for everything. But we can't be always perfect, and we can't always win. We do fail, because we are made of flesh, though we have the Spirit living in us. And every time we fall, we need to get up. Every time we backslide, we need to stop, look where we came from, and get back on track. And at this point, we need God's forgiveness. And this is a worst issue in church, because when a person accepts Christ for the first time in their life, everybody overjoys. They'll be like, oh my God, this person was a gangster and he accepted Christ and he came, and it's such a big deal. Yes, it is the same big deal when a person backslides and gets back into the church. Why aren't you welcoming them? Because God forgives everybody and accepts everybody. We are nobody to judge another person, because today that it happened to that person, tomorrow it might happen to us. And the church need to realize that the doctrine of forgiveness, the power of forgiveness, it's not just one time when you're getting saved. Every time you move away from God, you need to get back, and God's forgiveness is the only thing that helps you do that. And secondly, I would like to give examples for this situation, because in Old Testament, if we see, it's the life of David. He did the worst sin. I can say that blindly, because he took a girl. Well, it isn't something wrong for kings to have many wives, according to Old Testament, yes, but it is wrong to take somebody else's wife, and it wasn't a mistake, it was an accident, honestly, because he didn't know she was married. But when David realized that the girl was married and it is his own courtman's wife, all he should have done is given her back to the man. But what David did was so inappropriate. He murdered her husband, but trying to portray it like it was an accident by sending him in the war front, and made him stood on the first line so that he can get killed for sure. that is a real murder. And that is the person God looked and said, he's close to my heart. How amazing is God? David is a person who sang like he was chosen when he was a kid, because God knew his life and the way he lived. He sinned. He did things that God did not like, yet he got back, and God told that he is close to my heart. He's the man of my heart. And it just shows the power of forgiveness. How powerful is forgiveness? And it is not the first time deal. It helps every time you commit a mistake. And when we go to the New Testament, I cannot understand how it works, but the life of Peter amazes me. Because he was close to God's heart. He was so close. And it's one of those 3 loud disciples of Jesus. And he denied Jesus. He denied Jesus right in front of his face. Once, twice, thrice. He did it. And we realize that he was the first preacher when in his first sermon 3,000 people got saved. We realize how powerful God's forgiveness is, don't we? Because Peter cried. He felt so bitter because he could feel so guilty because he was with God and he loved God so much. And he even said that God is the son of Jesus, the son of God, and Jesus said that it's only Father who could reveal it to him. He was that close to God and he denied, and he felt so guilty about it. He felt a separation between God and him. But he got back to God. It's the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness, it's not just the first time Jesus met his disciples and forgive their sin and made them his followers. Not just that once. Every time they made a mistake, whenever they felt guilty, they got their forgiveness again. Salvation is an everyday process. It needs to go on every time. And it doesn't give you the authority to sin and live however you want and then ask for forgiveness. We strive to be how God wants us to be, and when we fail, that's when forgiveness is needed. And it's a must, because everybody failed. Nobody can be perfect. And you need God's forgiveness in everyday life. And I would strongly say this to churches today. Be happy when a person backslides and get back into church, just as how happy you would feel when a new person accepts Christ and step into church. Because it doesn't make a difference in God's eyes, because every forgiveness is given by his precious, pure, holy blood. And we need to understand that. And we need to accept people, and every Christian needs to understand that salvation is not a one-time deal that you get in the life. It's the everyday process in Christ. We renew our everyday life in Jesus, and that's how it works. I would like to conclude saying, to break the practical idea of people that they think once they go away from God, when they get back into church, they can't do ministry, they can't be the same person they were, they shouldn't be given such and such work in church, or they shouldn't be treated the same. No, because God considers everybody to be equal. God is impartial, and his forgiveness is powerful enough to forgive a sinner how many ever times he sins. As Solomon says in Proverbs, you fall 7 to 70 times, yet you rise again. That's what God expects from us, and we need to do it. God bless you.